Well, good evening, everybody. This time we'll open up the January 28th, 2021 meeting of the Middleton Zoning Board of Appeals. Looks like we have a few items on the agenda tonight. The first one is going to be the meeting minutes from December 10th. Has everyone had a chance to read those meeting minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
I will entertain a motion to approve if nobody has any changes.
So moved.
I have a second
I'll second.
and a vote.
Rich,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
All right, the next item we're going to go down is the 19 Lakeview Ave. Are the applicants available? Let's see. Get the participant list up.
Yes, let me see. Move, promote to panelist.
Hey guys. So,
Hi.
Hi.
since the last meeting, we did a site walk. Did you guys want to discuss that a bit? Because there's a few characteristics on your property that I know stood out to me. If you could just review those for the board members that weren't able to be there that morning.
Yes.
So could you tell us what characteristics
So
you have on the property that are unique?
Our house used to be on the slope, and we level it up, half of the property yard, so it's kind of all our land now with the house is on the slope. From the street view, there is a little retaining wall. The house is much lower than the street, and two sides of my house are slope, and there is a different level of the slope. From the street, my land is kind of leveled up, and then it's going down deep, like a steep slope, going in between 6 and I believe it was 14 feet. Because it's very like a hilly one. On the deepest, I think on the highest point is 14 and a half or 15 feet. I believe so. That was like that. It's like a whole street is on the hill, and all the backyard, all the lands are hilly one on the hills. Like you can see my neighbors even, they are like all like very hilly one. I did a few pictures.
Yeah, Katrina's got them right now. We're going through them. I think that's helpful. Did any of the board members have any other questions about the property? Or
Well, that was a very good example of how a site walk is. One site walk is worth 1,000 words. Quite a dramatic slope. Have you seen that property, Ann?
I'm driven by it.
Yeah. You can see the tops of the police station from it.
Yeah,
Pretty dramatic slope.
definitely. Did we receive these pictures? Because I don't have it in my Google.
No, we just received these on Monday, January 25th, and I just put them in the presentation tonight.
Okay.
yeah, when we did the site walk, we had asked them if they could produce some pictures, just because it is so hard to visualize without pictures of being there. Just how steep that grade change is, but how steep that grade is. Was there any other board discussion about the relief they're seeking?
What did we get any further plans? No, of the interior?
The only thing we received were the pictures.
I'm not sure the interior was really needed.
Okay.
The outside's so dramatic, it really was okay.
How close are the alterations to the top of slope?
Rich, you're gonna have to translate that.
So what they're planning on doing in terms of addition and so forth, right? How close is the work that they're doing that's going to expand? Is it to the top of slope? to this?
So I can tell you it's gonna be 15.8 feet.
How many?
I believe it's to the edge of the slope, it's gonna be 58
Oh, okay. All right.
to the edge of the slope. But but it's gonna be on the side. The back it's gonna be like another like 47.8 feet because we are slope on the left side and the back of the house. But the side of the house when we're going with addition, it's kind of not even on the slope because it's pretty much
it's level.
even with the street. Yes,
level, yeah.
with the neighbor's backyard, it's only steep from the edge of the from the level of the backyard towards the neighbor.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
basically, the house is close to the street, so it's kind of level it. It's not much steep. The steep will be again maybe 3 feet
Okay.
towards the neighbor.
Thank you.
Not even. Because to the edge of the slope, you've got 12 feet to the pool. Pool is long 40 feet, and then there is 5 feet from the pool to the steep or 6.
Rich, did you have any other questions?
No,
Anybody else?
I think I'm good.
So I'm a little back and forth on this one. At least I was until I got there and saw how steep that grade was. I don't think we're gonna have a hard time making an argument that it is unique to this property. The topography certainly.
So I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Does this obviously they need approval from the building inspector? Is that right?
Right, and that's kind of where I'm going with this. So, go ahead, Rich.
I was just going to say, I mean, from a zoning perspective, if we're looking at setbacks and things like that, I think that's probably more where I'm at. Like, am I okay with what they're proposing based on zoning setbacks and that sort of thing? In terms of the structure, and that's why I asked how close it was to the top of slope. In terms of what they're building, and is it from a building standpoint, is it okay? I don't really feel, really personally, I'm one of several members here of the board, but I think that's more of if the building inspector is okay, that this is not gonna, they're not gonna have erosion on that slope and it's then gonna cause issues with the building. I think that's really his purview, not necessarily mine. So I'm kind of looking at this more from a zoning setback thing personally.
Yeah, that's kind of how I've been hemming and hawing a little bit, and that's how I kind of laser focused it too, because there are a lot of other departments that are going to be involved, and without that's outside of our purview really. I mean, the big thing is, there's three. Was it? It's just the 2 spots, right? The side yard setback to get to 12 feet. And then the front yard setback, they're looking at 13 feet, 7 inches. So call it within 12 feet. I think if I'm leaning towards, if the board agrees, making a finding that there is a hardship due to the topography that is unique to this property and is not, and it makes it similar to others similarly located in the district, and limit our variance in any zoning to strictly the front and side yard setbacks.
I would support that.
Yeah, me too.
Put them at 12 feet, and that I think that's the limit of our, not to say jurisdiction, but our scope here, and they can sort out the rest, for lack of a better description, with the other departments.
I would
But
support
from
that.
a zoning standpoint, I think 12 feet is tight, but if you go to the property where it drops and how it's appropriate in this case, and it seems certainly unique.
So can I clarify, is that 12-foot variance only granted for that one side setback?
Yes,
Or
the right side
Okay.
and the front.
And the front goes to 12 or?
No, it's 13.7.
No.
But
it's
allow
20
them up to 12.
Okay.
Just call it 12, so we're not, just 12 and 12 is fine.
Limit.
And Katrina, I might say to the east 12, the side yard, the east side yard, 12 feet, and then the south side,
front.
as opposed to saying right and left.
Okay.
Let's all point to the left, right?
Well, you point to the left, well, because there's a front and a rear.
Right.
Or I could say the front and the east side setback.
Yeah.
Perfect. So if the board so chooses, is there any other discussion?
I'm sorry, was the finding basically what you just said? There is something wrong or unusual
We
about the
haven't
parts?
made any. I'm just throwing it
Okay,
out there.
all right,
So,
good.
Hearing no other discussion, I will propose that the board make the following finding. That based on the evidence presented, there is a hardship created by the unique physical characteristics of this specific property, including but not limited to the soil conditions, which are comprised of a considerable amount of ledge. It looked like in the back area as well. Or is that on the side there?
I don't think that's on the ledge.
Was that on the right side there? Okay.
And on the right side, we've got the neighbor, as you see next to the shed, and there is no ledge. It's our slanted, and the neighbors built up huge retaining wall, and he's much higher than we are.
All right. So due to the unique physical characteristics of the property, specifically the topography creating steep changes in elevation, do I have a second, or do I have a motion for those
So moved.
findings?
So moved.
Do I have a vote?
We need a second.
A second?
Second,
Vote.
Rich,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Based on those findings, I will propose that the board make a motion to approve the variance to allow for a reduction in the front and the east side facing setbacks to 12 feet each. Is that right? The front and east side property lines.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second
I'll
it.
second.
Rich,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes.
Katrina, maybe we can clarify. There's no special permit actually associated with this, right?
Yeah, I just was refreshing my memory too, looking at the legal ad I have up on the screen right now. It does say they're looking for special permit to increase the size of the non-conforming structure. That makes sense. We know that if you change the footprint of a non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot, they do need a special permit. And that finding would be that such reconstruction, extension, alteration, or change shall not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure to the neighborhood.
Well, now we're stuck on that one. That's what I thought. Because that requires a lot more specificity in what you're actually going to do for a project than I think what we have.
So can we just reference the plan? That it shall not be any bigger than what has been submitted on the plan?
Not to exceed the footprint, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, not shall comply with the plan as submitted and dated and shall not exceed that.
Yeah, so limit it to the footprint as shown on said plan. Right?
Well, okay, so a special permit is required if a structure is non-conforming due to the size of the lot, and that in this case, the lot is less than is required in this zone today. And so it's called a non-conforming structure. If you can do certain things to a non-conforming structure with just the building inspectors, okay. However, if you change the footprint at all or expand, then you need a special permit from the ZBA. And that's all you need to do is make that finding that is this change, is this expansion larger than the footprint, more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure to the neighborhood?
So we'll incorporate by reference the original finding, add in that the proposed changes as proposed on the plot plan for 19 Lakeview Ave, map parcel, that kind of stuff. And just leave it at the footprint.
That a motion?
No, I'm just I'm just throwing it out there.
They're going beyond the footprint, right? They're proposing to go beyond the existing footprint.
Correct. So the special permit allows them to go to the proposed footprint.
Right. That's the way I see
Okay,
it.
all right.
Yep, I see it that as well.
All right. Based on the previously approved findings, with the additional finding that the proposed changes as laid out on proposed plot plan 19 Lakeview Ave, Middleton, Massachusetts, map 17, parcel 18, dated January 9th, 2020. The proposed additions are not more detrimental to the neighborhood. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second it. Okay.
vote.
Rich,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Craig. Craig.
Yes. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yep, and I vote yes.
Based on those findings, I will make a motion, or I propose that we make a motion to approve the special permit to allow for the expansion of the footprint only of the existing dwelling. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
Second.
And a vote?
Rich,
Yep.
Carolyn,
Yeah.
Ann,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
That should do it, right?
Yeah, we're not, you don't want to, yeah, that's fine. That should do it. Thank you, guys.
Good luck.
You're all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We are so happy. Thank you.
Best of luck with
We're
everything.
happy
Take
for
care.
you.
Thank you.
Hey, don't forget to turn off your video and audio.
Just turn the audio off.
I mean, you can stay on, but I don't know why you want to. All right, the next item on the agenda tonight is a new public hearing. It's going to be for 265 South Main Street. Is the applicant here with us tonight? Madam Clerk, if you could read the publication, please.
Sure enough. Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing at 7 p.m. on Thursday, January 28th, 2021, via virtual meeting on the application of New Hampshire Signs on behalf of Net Lease Realty for the permits necessary to allow the applicant to reface the existing freestanding sign and electric LED fuel pricer and to install mobile synergy elements, waves, blades, koalas, end caps in the fuel dispenser area on the property located at 265 South Main Street on Assessor's Map 33, Parcel 102, plans on file with the town clerk. And I'm assuming we have a butter's been notified somewhere?
Yes,
Katrina?
yes, they have. It's
can see that.
it's in this packet,
Yep.
down at the bottom.
Can you scroll down there?
Oh, sure.
Okay, and is there any correspondence at all?
I think we always put them.
Yeah.
There's a lot in this one. Oh,
Okay.
there we go. Right there.
Okay,
Your butters.
all right. Is there correspondence to read?
There is.
All right, cool.
Oh, you know what? What helps is when I put this on so you can actually see all the correspondence. There's planning,
Okay.
ICDRC, planning board, department comments.
Okay,
All right, and we'll let the applicants open up, and then we can do the correspondence.
all righty.
Is there anyone
Um,
here to speak in favor of the applicant?
Peter March is here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And my video is on, but I can't see myself. So
No, we can't see you either. Let me see.
You don't got the
Oh, my
camera.
video, there you go.
Ah, there you are.
I can't see myself either. So
Oh, really?
no.
Are you here by yourself or is there someone else in the waiting?
There we go. Now I've got my 16-year-old son who's my
Okay.
technical help, so he's standing by. Good evening. My name is Peter March, New Hampshire Signs, 66 Gold Ledge Ave, Auburn, New Hampshire. Would the board prefer that I deal with a special permit for the ID sign and then separately the variance, or do you want me to deal with both simultaneously?
It's up to you how you want to treat them. We can do it all at once and take each of them individually at the end. That's fine.
Okay. So the special permit is to change the ID sign out that you see on the screen. We're changing the panels, which are pretty aged, and the special permit is for digital prices, which you can see on the screen there. So LED price changes are new technology that's replacing the old technology of those manual reader boards. They display only fuel prices. They're not capable of doing anything other than fuel prices. And they'll change only when an end user actively changes the sign via remote control or internet connection. They don't have the ability to display information other than number digits, nor do they have the ability of displaying moving images, flashing, or animation. As I said, the proposed LED signs simply replace the manual changes. They're always static unless the prices change. The legacy manual changes are difficult to change in windy or icy conditions. And the track system, that's the plastic that holds the plastic letters in, is prone to failure. The letters fall out from time to time. As a result, they're often in a state of disrepair. Electronic prices offer benefits to the site owner and to the general public, which include better readability in low light conditions, a neater, more aesthetic appearance. It improves the ability of the owner to control prices centrally via a network and to remain competitive. In this particular case, these will be hooked into a POS system, and the owner will be able to change these from a central location. They're also safer and easier for employees to use. The plastic letters are unpleasant to change under most circumstances. Tomorrow it's getting down to single digits, and it just exacerbates that problem. It's very difficult and uncomfortable to change those manual prices. So as far as the criteria for special permit are concerned, the premises are an appropriate location for the proposed signs, and that conditions affecting the premises are different from other similarly situated properties located in the district. To that, I would say gas stations, including this site, are one of the few businesses that post prices on a regular basis, up to several times a week under normal circumstances. They're also unique in the volume of short duration traffic entering and exiting the site. Few other businesses host the volume of vehicles entering, staying for a short time, and then exiting, and that really happens all day. As far as digital prices are concerned, the only application for these units is to display numbers. They're consequently almost entirely used on gas stations. They're sometimes used for time temp units and very occasionally hotel prices. But for the most part, these elements are overwhelmingly for gas stations, and that is what makes them unique in this circumstance. To the second point, that the sign will not adversely affect or be incongruous with the neighborhood, there are several other electronic signs in the area. The LED messenger board for the mini golf range is mere feet from our sign. Auto Sound, and the Main Street Bar and Grill also have message centers. The most similar site to ours is Cumberland Farms 4 Main Street, which has prices similar to those that we are proposing. In general, the motoring public is familiar with these signs, and in many areas, they're now more common than manual prices for the reasons stated above. In other words, they're not going to be stand out. They're going to be part of the norm. C, to the extent that the sign were similar to other signs in the area, there will be no nuisance or hazard to vehicular or pedestrian traffic. Electronic price changes offer benefits to the general public and to the area as a whole, which include better readability in low light conditions and a neater and more aesthetic appearance. More readable signs promote better vehicular and traffic safety. They're also safer and more convenient for the employees tasked with changing manual prices in poor weather or low light conditions. There are several other similar signs in the area. To the last point, the sign satisfies all of the applicable dimensional other criteria. The ID sign remains the same size. The price cabinet will be replaced with one of the same size, but diesel will be replaced with a tenant panel, and one face at the top of the sign will be replaced by a Synergy panel. The lighting will be converted from its current inefficient and polluting fluorescent to efficient, clean LED illumination. Apart from the shuffling of elements and the addition of the digital prices, the sign remains unchanged. Do you wish me to continue with the variance?
There you go.
Yeah, you want. I'm fine with that. If you want to continue on, and then we can do all the correspondence and open it up.
Okay. So we're also applying for a variance for synergy elements for the site. We applied for waves, koalas, and wedges, and we were denied on the basis that those were considered signage. ExxonMobil has as a strategy, a global strategy, rationalizing the traffic flow onto and off its sites. This promotes safety and rationalizes use of the dispensers by encouraging traffic to enter and exit in a specific pattern. It's merely suggestive, it's not regulated, and by its nature, a generic program that was designed to work across the world. One of the most common causes of injuries at gas stations is vehicle movement. It's unavoidable. There's unceasing movement of vehicles in the parking lot and at the dispensers, mixed with pedestrian traffic, heightens the risk of vehicles accidentally colliding with structures, people, and other vehicles. To wit, if you've ever looked at the bollards in a gas station, they're being collided with on a constant basis. There's always scrapes and always damage to those bollards. So what Mobil is trying to do is they're trying to rationalize the movement of traffic on and off this site. So there are 4 elements. Sorry, I beg your pardon. So the program promotes 3 goals. Firstly, it is promoting part of the Mobil brand Synergy, which is a clean fuel solution. Secondly, it is encouraging a traffic pattern on the site, directing the traffic in and out of the site in a specific way. And thirdly, it's reducing clutter by concentrating all regulatory and instructional decals in key places. Currently, there are decals all over the columns and dispensers and also sometimes the grass areas of gas stations. And what Mobil wants to do is clean that up and reduce the number of places that those decals are centered. So it's a fairly strict program in terms of maintaining that lack of clutter. There are mystery shoppers that visit each station at least 4 times a year and make sure that those principles are adhered to. So the synergy elements we're asking for is the wave, which is that lollipop shaped thing on the right of that picture. A blade, which is the element on the left-hand side of the picture attached to the canopy column. The koala, which is the thing right next to the garbage can that actually hugs the pole. That actually contains a fair amount of regulatory information, like the unapproved container filling instructions and that sort of thing, no smoking. And then the last element you can't really see, but it's what's called the wedge. It's right next to the blade on the column. And that little device basically shows the pump number. And that's needed for the operator in the cashier to actually see what number what number pump a person is at. So there's those four elements: the wave, the koala, the blade, and the wedge. They don't fall into any classic definition of a sign. They can be implemented either with or without those Synergy logos, those decals on them. So it's possible to implement them either way, with or without the decals. Again, the three purposes are traffic orientation, reduction of clutter, and there is a promotional element to them. So as far as the variance criteria, owing to circumstances related to the soil conditions, shape, or topography of such land or structures, but not affecting the zoning district in which it's located. So the unique aspect of this site is that it is a gas station. Again, it generates a high traffic volume of a short frequency, and people enter and exit vehicles and fill while remaining outside their vehicles. The synergy elements cater to the volume of traffic. We're hoping that traffic enters and exits the site on a much more regulated manner than normal. And we create some sort of order to the traffic flow with the devices we're proposing. They do not mandate direction, they merely encourage it. And the wedges and koalas serve to convey information required by law. So the forecourt is angled, and it's advantageous from a flow perspective to have the traffic enter from the South Main Street side and exit towards the building, rather than enter from the Lonergan side on the building and exit from the South Main Street side. And if allowed, the waves and blades would encourage this movement. A literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner or appellant. Denying the synergy elements will perpetuate the haphazard traffic patterns on this site and will cause hardship by increasing the risk of injury to both customers and employees and reducing the effective use of the limited spaces on this site. Again, they reduce clutter. Desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of such ordinance or bylaw. Many other gas stations have architecture surrounding the dispenser. Cumberland Farms uses stone and very wide pillars. Irving uses molded sides of the dispenser. In general, these are unique to this situation, i.e. gas stations, and the product we're asking for is specific to mobile. Approving this will not cause a proliferation of these elements. This is a commercial area with a wide variety of signs, architecture, and building types. These elements would not be out of place with a surrounding neighborhood that is not homogeneous and hosts a variety of different designs, colors, and styles. For example, Dairy Queen, McDonald's, and Dunkin' all display elements that make their sites unique. The arch on the McDonald's building and the accent stripes on Dunkin' and Dairy Queen are examples. In conclusion, the synergy elements are intended to improve traffic safety and direction and to reduce the clutter from miscellaneous signs randomly placed on the site.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? See none. Madam Clerk, if you could read the correspondence, please.
Sure enough. All right, this is from the ICDRC. On January 19th, the board heard the application of Fast Freddy's at 265 South Main Street, requesting an LED computerized price change sign to replace the manual price change and interior directional signage. They voted unanimously in favor of their application. That's from Paul Richardson. And from the planning board, January 14th, 2021 meeting of the Planning Board. The members unanimously voted to make a positive recommendation to the Zoning Board of Appeals on the application of New Hampshire Signs on behalf of the Net Lease Realty for the permits necessary to allow the applicant to reface the existing freestanding sign, install electric LED fuel pricer, install mobile synergy elements in the fuel dispenser area on the property at 265 South Main, conditional upon the owner of the property removing all trash located on the property, especially along the wetlands, before a permit is issued for the sign.
I confirmed with the customer on Tuesday that that has happened. I have not seen it myself.
From Derek Fullerton, Board of Health, no comment, same with the police and the fire department. And from Kristen Kent, that's the Concom, with regard to 265 South Main Street, I have no objection to the signage. However, I'd like to see the board require the property owners clean up the trash and debris accumulated along their property line adjacent to the river. There is a significant trash that's accumulated and both detrimental to the river and unattractive when leaving town.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there anyone here to speak from the public? Seeing none, I will open it up to board discussion.
Did you say that these signs were not approved initially? Were they rejected, Peter?
No, I mean,
Did I hear that?
initially the building inspector basically corresponded with us and said we needed variances and special permits to proceed.
Because there was too much signage? Is that the problem? Or?
His email basically said that they were not allowed per the zoning bylaw, and that I believe to get in front of the board for a variance, you need a rejection, and that I think was served as a
okay. And what was he objecting to? Just the amount of signage, like on the Synergy sign everywhere?
Literally, his email said the proposed wave blade and koala are not allowed per our zoning bylaw. The number wedges identifying the pump numbers would be allowed. And in subsequent correspondence, he basically suggested a variance for that. As far as the—
So nobody else had— okay, go ahead, sorry.
As far as the special permit is concerned, he helped us with so we're applying for variance from sections 5.2.11.1 and 5.2.11.2a, which really deals with the number of signs. So 11.1 says a premises should be allowed to have one ground sign and one roof or wall sign, subject to the provisions. 5.2.11a says roof signs and wall signs submitted only one roof sign and one wall sign. And it also deals with an area issue. But one of the elements of this is, in some ways, these are not really signs if we take the Synergy labeling off them.
Well, that was my suggestion, is to take off that Synergy. Yeah, I don't think you need all that on there. Does anyone else have waves in town? Any other gas stations?
As far as I know, this is the only mobile site in town.
Well, okay, but I mean, other gas stations don't use those waves.
No,
correct?
Others, I mean, so Cumberland Farms uses wide pillars and stone elements. As I said,
right.
Irving has a big sort of structure on their sign. So elements like this are not unusual in the petroleum world, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I would have a lot less objection to them if they didn't have the word Synergy everywhere.
I would be happy to take that off.
Especially on the blades and the waves.
Yeah, we'd be happy to take that off. I mean, there will be verbiage on them just because that is what is required by law.
Well, that's fine, but there is a lot of advertising there.
Yeah, I'm fine. We're fine with that.
Am I next?
Go for it.
First, about the LED price panels. As long as those signs are static, and it sounds like they are, I don't have a problem with that. Matter of fact, I think that they're probably safer as opposed to having, employees out there with the wands trying to place letters and numbers and that sort of thing. So I think this is a little bit cleaner, and I think it's safer. So I don't have a problem with that. And I think it's what we're seeing everywhere. And I think we've already set a precedent by allowing Cumberland Farms to do that. So I don't have any problem with that. As far as the variance for the synergy and the things that you call them, I don't even remember. First of all, I think that mobile is not going to, and this is just sort of my own commentary. I think when things are introduced like this, I suspect that mobile has invested in safety at gas stations, and so I don't think they're just in the business of wanting to go out and spend money just to spend money and put these things up. I'm a traffic guy, so I like the idea of trying to organize traffic on the site. I've been to this site before. It is a little bit of a free for all at times. So if this is, I suspect that mobile has done studies. Would that be a true statement, Peter?
Yes, I spoke to one of the traffic engineers a long time ago when this program was coming out, and basically they said they weren't able to mandate direction of travel. They could really only encourage it, and this was their method of trying to encourage vehicles to enter and exit in a particular way.
Okay. I tend to agree with Ann on, I mean, maybe it's one of either the panel on the post or the curvy thing, over the pump, maybe one of those, but if you don't need it, I think that's just as well. I mean, sign clutter is more of a distraction at times than it's worth, so anyhow, those are my comments.
I have a question. So if you, Katrina, if you could scroll down a little bit on that page. So the traffic
Further?
flow is, no, I think
Right
that's
here?
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so to me, this shows the traffic flow coming away from 114 from the Lonergan Road side.
Yes, I believe so. I stand corrected, but I believe that.
Okay, because if you scroll up to so there's an image with a bunch of cars parked. Well, that I guess they're getting gas, and they're in the other direction. So I just wanted to be
clear. I'm sorry, that does not reflect this. That was a canopy.
Okay.
Canopy, drawing that doesn't reflect what we're trying to do on the site. So I apologize. That's a little bit.
That's fine. I just wanted to be clear.
So can you go back to that picture again, though? So Peter, is the intent to not have vehicles queued up at the pumps as we see in this picture? Is that right?
The intent is to try and promote them to head towards the store.
Okay.
Away from 114, essentially. Okay.
So it's contrary to this photo. I get what this photo was, but to Caroline's question, it's really to have vehicles facing the store, not facing the street.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a couple comments.
Please.
Okay, so I agree with Ann completely. I think it's overkill. Like it's going to take me a half hour to read all that signage as I'm pulling in. Next, we talk about these, I think they're called the waves. So in the picture where the red wave has been placed on a photograph, it looks like they're in line with the bollards. So we're going to have this. Our concern is that the cars are hitting the bollards, but now we're going to have this flimsy sort of a 238-pound metal wave. Is it behind the bollard? Is it? I don't really understand the purpose of it.
So typically we cut the bollard and the wave goes between the bollard. So we'll cut the bollard and turn it into two post bollards rather than a U bollard, and the wave will fit between the two vertical. So essentially we turn it from a U into two I's, really.
Okay. It's
That's
just,
what we do.
I mean, a steel bollard does more to thwart cars than
Yes,
these things are
It's
going
still,
to.
it is
So am I-
covered with a plastic protective sleeve, but there is definitely a steel bollard inside it.
In the wave?
No, in the sleeve. So when we cut the bollard, we fit a large plastic sleeve to it, which makes it more visible. But the steel is left inside that plastic bollard.
Okay. Yeah, that was my concern, just that these metal waves are going to get beat up, and in about a month they're going to be all dented and destroyed and look not great. And my other question, what is the purpose of the blade? Is the blade the thing hanging off the column in a
Yes,
horizontal?
the blade is the thing hanging off the column with the second synergy on it. That just really continues to direct traffic. It's a visual cue to help people pass through the station in that manner.
In my opinion, my humble opinion, it's a little overkill. I get it, and it's a new look, and that's fine. That's a judgment call, but I totally agree with there's too many words going on there. There's too much signage going on there.
Would be happy with a condition that says none of the synergy lettering on the blade and wave. That wouldn't be a problem.
And then the koala, the purpose of the koala, is that just like a design feature then?
No, it carries the health and safety information. You know, an unapproved container, no
Okay.
smoking, all the stuff that is required by law.
Okay, instead of just being tacky taped on that looks nice. Okay.
It does have a small amount of promotional items in it, but its real purpose is to carry that. The thing is that what has been happening in mobile sites across the world is people stick that stuff anywhere. So it's all on the poles, sometimes it's on the pump, sometimes it's here, sometimes it's there. And what they want to do is concentrate it in one area. And they're very strict about the other stuff. You can't now, the term is synergize the station. So once you synergize this station, you can't hang anything on the sign. So there's no promotional items on the sign, on the main sign itself. There's nothing hanging off the poles. You'll see occasionally things hanging off bollards in other stations. That's not allowed. So this is a method of saying, okay, guys, we need to clean it up. We need to give you a place to put your promotional items. Here it is. And that will reduce the overall clutter.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, I guess I'll interject. So, I mean, the ground sign, you know, I don't really have a problem with adding the digital elements. I think it's something that's smart and in consonant with what we're doing with other properties, or we've been doing with other properties. So I don't really have an issue as much with the special permit. I don't really get what we're doing for the variance. Like, I don't understand what we're doing if we're going to remove all the synergy language from the features. Well, it's no longer a sign.
Right.
So we don't need a variance, to me.
Still on the gas pump. It's still on the gas pumps, though, isn't that been added, Peter? The blue. Is that new? The blue synergy on the gas pump?
Yeah, typically we've never had to permit the signage on gas pumps. They're always,
right. And that's I would even look at that. I specifically, the variance is asking for all these other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So forget the gas pump itself.
Including it.
Right. I mean, outside of the gas pump,
It's not including it. Yeah, I agree with you. If it's not including the gas pump, I agree with you.
But the other stuff, if
Is Scott here to speak to that or not? Is he in the audience?
What do you want?
Katrina?
I don't believe he is.
Okay, I'm just saying he's the one that said we needed the variance, but did that include the synergy words on the blue pump, the blue synergy words on the pump?
His was very specific. It says just to do the proposed wave, blade, koala, and column end caps are not allowed in the zoning bylaw.
Okay. Perfect, then. I think you're right.
So, but I'm saying like
You are.
those
Yes, you're
specific
right.
those specific features, if they don't have signage on them, they're just red features. So I don't understand why. I don't think we need to do a variance for it. I mean, if there's stuff, if they're simply holders for promotional materials or I mean, safety materials.
Well, now that they removed the letters, then yeah, I guess you're right.
Would the board be prepared to make a statement that your ruling is that they're not considered signage?
No.
Well, if there's no words on them, they're not signs, are they? They're design features.
Well, okay, so it looks to me like there's areas to hang posters
Correct.
on them. And there's an option to put these small little signs here. Are you agreeing not to even put those signs on?
If the board, I mean, I would prefer to put them on. If the board would give us a variance to letter the, to keep the synergy elements on the blades and the waves, that may resolve the problem.
Say that again. So if we,
well, if the board would grant us a variance to keep the synergy signage on the waves and blades, that may be a solution to allow us to move forward.
Because that would give you enough signage.
Because that would give us enough. That would mean that the purpose of the variance has been satisfied.
But
I think what the board is trying to say is, if you agree to take off the names of the company or anything to do with the company, these aren't signs anymore, so they're allowed. You can just put these up with a building permit without having to be granted a variance. If you feel strongly that they're of no use without those, then you need to tell the board that, and then they need to consider whether or not they want to grant the variance to put all the names on these forms. So without the synergy and the Exxon or Mobil, whatever you're going to put on these, this isn't really a sign. It's not a sign anymore, so it doesn't need a variance.
I understand.
You could just get a building permit.
Right. And if you need to exceed the signage that's allowed by special permit or by right, then you'd come back. But
Okay.
to do this by a variance, you also have to meet the hardship standard that has to be related to the property itself, not the use of the property. So the fact that you use it as a gas station, that's nobody's forcing you to use it as a gas station. The hardship has to be something having to do with the soil conditions, the topography, the shape of the lot. And the fact that it's a gas station is a use. It has nothing to do with the soil conditions, topography, or shape of the lot.
So the only thing I would say is that then if that's the direction we're going, then we need to provide correspondence back to the building inspector that he does not need a variance from the zoning board of appeals and has the right to do whatever he has the right to do, because the building inspector sent him here.
That can be included in any decision on the variance, because you're going to have to make a decision on this variance. You do have a variance application in front of you. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to have to end that in some way and finalize it.
Yep.
And that can go back to the building commissioner for him to see.
Would it be a solution that the board makes a recommendation that that without the synergy signage on the waves and blades, these are not considered signage?
No, they have to take action on the variance. So they can either accept your withdrawal of the variance application, or they can deny the variance and suggest that you just apply for a building permit for these waves, end caps, koalas without any names on them or logos.
And that would be an application then that would be filed with the building inspector, who could then deny it.
Yep.
And then we can come back and you can appeal the denial as well.
Well, I think then the solution I'd like to reach is that I would like to withdraw the variance.
Mhm.
And I will communicate with the building inspector and, tell him what we spoke about and see whether he agrees with me.
I concur. And I'll propose that the board make a motion to grant the petitioner leave to withdraw his application for the variance only, part of his application.
So moved.
And second,
Second.
and vote.
Rich,
Yeah.
Ann,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
and I say yes.
However, I would also ask the board or somebody to make a motion to accept the following findings in regards to the special permit sought to add the electronic message board to the already existing sign there. First, that the premises is an appropriate location for the proposed signs, and the conditions affecting the premises are different from other similarly situated properties located in the district. However, require the requested special relief. The sign will not adversely affect or be incongruous with the neighborhood or surrounding zoning district, as it is going to be similar to other signs so located in the area. The proposed sign is similar to other signs in the area. There will be no additional nuisance or serious hazard to vehicular traffic. In fact, the proposed sign should increase readability in low light conditions and provide a neater, more aesthetic appearance. And the sign satisfies all of the applicable dimensional and other criteria, as it is remaining the same size as currently constructed. Anything else? Do I have a motion?
Just, Mr. Chairman, do we need to mention anything about the static nature of the sign?
Yeah, we'll do that for the conditions. We're just gonna do the
Okay.
finding first.
Then so moved on your motion.
Second,
Second it.
vote.
Ann,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Based on those findings, I propose that the board move to approve the special permit to grant the requested relief, and with the condition that the sign will not change more than once per hour.
Well, how about, I guess I would defer to Peter. They're not gonna be changing the price hourly. I mean,
No,
you
that's
okay with
very
it changing
reasonable.
daily?
Yeah,
Daily?
that's once an hour is a very reasonable rate of movement.
So are you okay with once a day?
Once a day, maybe a little tougher. It's not really going to cause any disruption if it changes every hour. I mean, if you imagine people are looking at it for maybe a couple of minutes at a time, if that.
I think 1 hour is kind of our go-to for these signs.
It's also required by the zoning bylaw.
1 hour? Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
Why would it change once an hour for gas prices? That's a little scary.
No, but if they change the price twice in one day, somebody's gonna call and say, hey, they're changing their sign.
Yeah. Should we
I-
put something on there? Should we condition something about the trash, which seems to be an issue?
Okay, can we stay on the sign for a second?
Yeah.
And I understand it's in our bylaw, and just so you all know, I mean, when we had the applicant come in at the corner of River Street, and that sign was in conflict with the traffic signals, right? So we had them, we conditioned them that they could change the sign once a day, either in the morning or in the afternoon. And I'm not suggesting that, I don't suspect that the price of gasoline and diesel fuel is going to be changing that consistently. If it is, then I'm going to be looking at the stock market, not at the sign. I do have concerns, and in our next filing, I have some concerns about that one as well. I did a little research today. The ADT on Route 114. Anyone have any idea what the ADT is on 114? It's almost 28,000 cars a day going through there, and there's a lot of sign clutter already. And there's a lot of distractions. As a matter of fact, there was a head-on collision on Tuesday. Some of you may know about that on 114. So I don't have a problem with them changing, using an electronic sign here. And if it's changed, I don't think it's going to change in the hour. I just don't want to set a precedent that another applicant's going to come in on 114 and say that they want to change their sign every hour. Because it's not so much that it's the person that's going by the sign while it's changing, not that someone they went by and the sign was static. It's the people that are going by while it's changing. That's my concern. So that's just my 2 cents. I'm one of several here. So I'll yield the rest of my time.
And did you have something else? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just
Cody?
mentioning the trash. Yeah, I was just mentioning the trash issue. I was wondering if we should be saying something about that since 2 different boards mentioned that.
Yeah, it is special permit and owing to site conditions, that in addition to the condition that the sign will not change more than once per hour. Additionally, that no permits will be issued until
Well, something about maintaining it, A one-time cleanup, I don't think is gonna do
well,
this.
they have the general conditions they have to meet anyway.
So if I
Right.
could, if I
They
could add
don't.
something as well,
But that's not.
if I could add something as well, my 13 years as a conservation commissioner, if there's trash in the wetlands, then the Conservation Commission can issue an enforcement order and have them clean that out via enforcement order, which is subject to fine as well. So we can condition this, but I think the safeguard is if there's still trash going in the resource area, then Concom should be issuing an enforcement order to clean it up.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like right on the fence line, Rich, right on the border.
Sure.
It just looks pretty bad. It looks awful, yeah. I'm not sure it's actually going into the river, but it looks pretty bad.
I'm sure that the Conservation Commission is made aware and has the processes in place to resolve the issue.
Agreed.
Do I have a motion?
So is this for the hour change? Is that what we're doing?
It's for the special permit with the condition that it not change more than once per hour.
Which is in our bylaws anyway, right? Am I correct about that? I don't know. I forget. Isn't that what Katrina said?
Yeah, I think she just.
Sorry, Rich made the motion, so we're looking for a second. And it is in our bylaws.
I did not make the motion.
Okay.
Yet. So.
Oh, I already wrote it down because you made all the other motions.
So we're saying it's okay if it changes once per hour.
Yes.
All right. So moved.
Second,
I'll second it.
vote.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
The next item on the agenda is going to be 255 South Main Street. Is the applicant for 255 South Main Street here? I see a hand raised. Perfect. And in that case, we will open up the public hearing. Madam Clerk, could you read the publication, please?
Sure. The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing 7 p.m. January 28th, 2021 on the application of Barlow Signs on behalf of McDonald's JCJ Management, LLC, for the permits necessary to allow the alteration of an existing manual reader board for McDonald's, replacing it with an electronic reader board. The proposal is an update to existing technology, which will result in signage that reads better, more modern, much easier to use on a property located at 255 South Main Street, found on Assessor's Map 33, Parcel 19B, plans on file with the town clerk. And the abutters have been
Sorry.
have been
Notified. Let me just open this up and I can go right down to the abutters list. There it is.
Okay, great. All right, beautiful.
Is there anyone here to speak for the applicant?
Yes, good evening. My name is Brandon Curry. I'm from Barlow Signs, representing McDonald's, here located at 255 South Main Street. Can you all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So I'm here in front of you this evening seeking special permit approval to allow the installation of a new EMC to replace the existing and outdated reader board. With technology advancements, allowing an EMC here would be beneficial not only to McDonald's, but also the wayfinding public. This EMC will allow management to change messages from inside, unlike the previous outdated reader board, which is definitely dangerous being out by the street, as well as during wintry months with snow and ice. It's very dangerous for employees to go out and change the messages. With the installation of this EMC, management is looking to display daily specials, but also provide restaurant hours and messages. For example, during this ongoing pandemic, they'll now be able to quickly and safely display if internal seating is allowed or not. This will allow the public and motorists passing by to make a safe decision if they would like to stop or not. The messages they are looking to display will not have any animation, so they'll be static images, and they will fade on and off uniformly. There'll be no animation. Just like many other businesses in the area that have EMCs, this one also will not be a distraction to passing motorists or any of the neighbors surrounding McDonald's. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, do we have any correspondence? Madam Clerk? Loser.
Can you hear me? Sorry about that.
No
Can you hear
worries.
me?
Yep.
Okay. At the Zoom meeting on January 19th, the board reviewed the application McDonald's at 255 South Main Street. They'd like to change their message board from manual to electronic. The sign could be used to advertise different products and change from time to time. After a lot of discussion, the board voted to approve their request with the stipulation that the content of the sign be changed only once per hour. From the planning board, at the January 14th meeting of the planning board, members unanimously voted to make a positive recommendation to the Zoning Board of Appeals on the application from Barlow Signs on behalf of McDonald's JCJ Management, LLC, for permits necessary to allow the replacement of an existing manual reader board with an electronic reader board. And Fire Department, Board of Health, Concom have no comments. Or meld. And that looks like it, right? Okay.
Thank you very much. Katrina, do you have a report on this one?
I do not.
In that case, I will open it up to the public. If there's any comments in favor or opposition from the public. Do we have any hands up? Seeing none, I will open it up for board discussion.
Okay, so I just want to add on to what I was talking about before. Can we go to the photo where we were advertising Mocha Flurry or something, a Mocha thing? Here we go. So again, this is one of those things where I think, unlike the mobile station where it's just numbers, someone's going by and it's just numbers, and unlikely in my view that that's going to change regularly. This is a little bit more. If someone's driving by, they're reading, in addition to probably being on their phone, texting, they're checking, try the new Mocha McCaff, and they're looking at they're reading the letters and they're reading the sign and they're looking at the pictures and all that other stuff. And if anyone's been down that area, pulling out of Dunkin' Donuts or pulling out of the gas station or pulling out of McDonald's, trying to get into the center turn lane so that you could, especially if you're coming out and making a left and trying to get and go westbound, I guess, on 114, it's frightening. And I think the more we have this stuff, it's sign clutter. And I think it just presents a hazard, it's a roadside hazard in my view. If you want to have the sign there, I mean, and I agree with the proponent. I mean, obviously it's easier than reading that white sign with black letters on it. It's a lot clearer. I get it. But the simple fact that it's changing, I have a problem with this from a traffic safety standpoint, particularly right here. We have a center turn lane, which is already dangerous. We had a head-on collision on Tuesday on 114. I just, looking at numbers at the gas station is one thing as you're going by. Reading a sign like this with pictures and colors and messages and all this other stuff, and we're just seeing this. We don't know what else they're going to put on that sign. They can put anything they want. I have concerns about this. So for me, if my vote would be, when it comes to that, would be if you want to change this maybe twice a day or something like that, that's fine. But to have it change in every hour, I'm not in favor of that. So that's just where I'm at right now, unless I hear something different. I'll yield.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Rich. I had a real visceral reaction to this sign, and a lot of post-traumatic stress from the old Angelica's situation and the daily situation that we ran into, and both very dangerous. And my gut reaction was a big fat no to this. Yeah, I agree a lot there. I think once, I don't know, I would just want to see words myself, but if you want to take it to just changing it once a day, that would make me feel a little better about this. But yeah, there's a lot to look at there. And I totally agree with him. That's a really tough spot.
I have to say, I agree. I think that the point about, I forget what these older signs are called. The point about it being a safety issue, I agree with. I mean, if you don't have to have people climbing up on ladders when it's cold and icy out, that's great. I like the idea of being able to do that from inside the store and change the words. But again, I echo what both Anne and Rich say with the images. Yeah, so.
I agree. I agree. I'm glad there's no animation, obviously, and you all know I don't like these lit signs, but I do think that the new sign is an improvement. I think it's a better looking sign, but I totally agree that it shouldn't be changing every hour. It should be almost stationary per day, and it shouldn't change during traffic hours. Like Rich said, that is a distraction, and I've always felt that they're a horrible distraction. And we're just going to have these up and down 114 now, but I do think that sign looks better than what was there. What is there?
Can I add in at some point, or would you like me to wait until the end?
No, go ahead, please.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that, like you guys have mentioned, there's definitely no animation going on here. The sole look for this sign, again, aside from the safety reasons, they just wanted to display a special per meal. That was really their drop dead. Hey, can we have like show our special for breakfast, show something for lunch, maybe lunch and dinner type of thing. I do understand the point of distractions, and we can't control what people are doing inside their vehicles. So we're trying to keep this sign as safe as possible by not having animation. In one of the previous meetings, the Angelica project was actually brought up, and we discussed that about having multiple changes and it being an extreme distraction. We've been in contact with the manufacturer of this EMC here, and it will be equipped with a light sensor. So it'll automatically dim depending on what the ambient light is outside. So that's going to be extremely helpful for passing motorists, because it's not going to be a giant bright light. If it's bright day out, it'll be a little bit brighter to counteract that brightness. But you're not going to have the sign on at full lumens at 11 o'clock at night when they're just trying to display something for maybe a late night meal or dinner time. So that'll definitely not be a distraction there. I do understand the point about having electric message centers on busy highways like this, and that it could be a distraction. And you guys did mention that it was an extremely busy road all the time. So the message changing, I see how it can be distracting, but that's why we're not going to be using any animation, so no dissolving, nothing like that. It's just a on off, so there's nothing that's going to be flashing and so forth. So we're trying to keep the changes minimal for distractions for that.
Any other discussion?
Is the sign, as you see it there, is that the exact sign?
That's
Size?
the exact size of the sign, yes.
Because it's a little
Yep,
bigger than the white sign, is that true?
That is correct. The reasoning behind that is because the panels come in 12 by 12 measurements, and they have to be retained by a cabinet where you can hide the wireways and all the control modules and so forth. So you have about a 3-inch retainer bar, a face bar that goes around the whole outside, which gives you that additional 7 inches that are unaccounted for.
So it can't be a little smaller?
This is directly from the factory. This is the measurements that they provide. I'm not sure if the thickness of the border can shrink. I mean, I can definitely reach out, but
I mean, the whole thing. I mean, can the whole thing be smaller? Like the size of the white sign? Can it go smaller, which might make it a little less distracting?
Well, like I mentioned, it's only in 12 by 12 increments. So that we went with the closest one to the size of the sign that is existing. The client would not be interested in reducing and losing signage space. So that's why we chose this size, because it was as close as we could get to the existing one.
Is there any other discussion from the board? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I think we need to condition this time thing here. Does anybody have a solution on this? Can it be once a day?
I'd ask the proponent. I mean, is this a showstopper if you can only change it once a day? Or are you looking to say, like, you want to be able to advertise the breakfast special, and then you want to be able to advertise the lunch special, and then you want to be able to advertise the dinner special? Well, one thing I want to add, and in addition to the close to 28,000 vehicles per day on 114, the peak hour factor is like 1, meaning that you don't really have highs and lows of traffic on 114. It's more constant. So again, when the sign is changing, preferably when you want it to be changing, there's probably a good stream of traffic on both sides of 114. And the other problem that we have on 114, and we're adding even more driveways up past River Street, is the amount of driveway and curb cuts we have. So there's just a lot of stuff going on. And this is just one more thing that takes, you know, someone's attention away from the road. You probably maybe you've read studies and articles about just people on cell phones and stuff. I mean, I'm in the traffic engineering business. It's bad. It's real bad right now. So I don't know if that's a showstopper for you. If we say, look, we'll approve the sign, but you know, you can only change it. You know, you can change it once a day. You can change it twice a day. You can change it before 7 a.m. and you can change it after 7 p.m. or something like that. I think that's what we did with the sign that we granted permission on at the corner of River Street. Because they would. You know,
would you guys be? I do understand the point of safety and stuff, and that's obviously a number one concern everywhere. Would the client looking to be able to change for having a special for breakfast, something for lunch, and something for dinner? You mentioned a peak hour of 1 o'clock. Is there a way that we can work around when the sign changes? Obviously, a breakfast sign is going to be changing in early hours of the morning when most people aren't out. And again, with that daylight sensor, it's not going to be distracting at all. Is there a way that we can work that in where we can have multiple changes, but maybe on hours that are a little bit less? I mean, lunchtime, you're not going to change it at noontime directly because, I mean, people work different shifts, different schedules. So there's going to be multiple angles to work from. So we would just like to see if we can get a little bit more play, a little bit more space to adjust more than once a day, because again, that doesn't really mesh with what the goal of this upgrade is, aside from just safety.
So the peak traffic hours between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. and then 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So you would be okay with, you can change this, you can't change the sign any later than 7 a.m. So if you want to put up the breakfast thing, it has to be done before 7. Are you okay with that? Let's start there and move on from there. You okay with that?
Before 7?
Hey, Rich, easy.
Sorry.
Katrina, could you show the sign again? Could you put the picture up again? Just thank you.
And the image that's on the drawing is just a sample image.
Craig, did you ask me a question?
I just asked you to maybe settle down just a little bit. Easy.
What do you mean?
You're just talking over people. We just want to make sure we can go one at a time.
No, I was just asking him a question. He was asking if we had some latitude, and I was finishing to ask him my question as to what would work for him.
Right, just carry on.
Okay.
So you didn't mean just one, you can only change it one time before 7 a.m. That's just the first time you can change it, right? You were going to continue on?
Well, that's kind of where I was going, but I didn't want anyone to think I was getting too hyped up. I just had a question.
No, I think the applicant thought maybe that was the only chance. So I don't think he wanted.
No, that's why I said that let's start with the first change of the day.
Yeah, and I'm definitely I'm absolutely willing to work with you guys on this to try to make this as safe as possible, but also allow the client to have a couple changes to be able to benefit from having this as well. So you did mention something about changing for the breakfast hour would be before 7 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And then what time would you prefer? I mean, midday is not really an issue, right? Because traffic is generally light midday, although 114 is an anomaly, but generally it's lighter. So what time would you want to change for lunch?
Well, what is your definition of midday?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. I mean, do you want to change it at 11 o'clock so you can put the lunch thing up?
I would say somewhere in the area of that, yes.
All right. So you can change it again between 11 and 1? That work for you?
Then would that would have to deal with. So I would think that if we changed it a little bit earlier to give that lunch population a little bit of time, so you'll have the breakfast special, then a lunch special, and then after you said the peak hours was what for the commuting traffic?
the last time you could change it would, again, I'm one vote. There's several other people voting. But I would say you couldn't change it after 3. It'd have to be changed before 3 for the evening.
For the dinner traffic,
Yeah.
okay. So then there would still be at least 3 changes a day. So this is, and this would be the amendment to the bylaw of the once an hour, correct?
If you agree to it. You could go with once an hour. I won't
Okay,
vote.
I mean, obviously we'd like to have as many changes as we could, but again, we don't want to have it be a hindrance and a distraction. If the board is leaning a certain way, I don't want to upset you or whatnot, but I would like to at least get the most out of this sign as we can. Again, like I mentioned, it's not just for the safety aspect of it, but they'd like to get just a couple changes in for different meals like that, and then so forth.
So again, I'm just trying to help us get through this. So if we said before 7, 1 change midday, a 3rd change before 3 p.m., and then 1 after 7 p.m. How's that? That's 4 changes.
I think that can be. I think that can work.
Sounds good.
Can you repeat that so I can write it down?
All right, so
I have it written down.
I'll make a motion that we approve the special permit for the electronic message board, sign, or whatever we call it. And that the permit will allow the sign to be changed 4 times per day. The first time being before 7 a.m. The second change being between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. The third change being before 3 p.m. And the 4th change after 7 p.m. daily. That work for you?
For the lunch hour one, could we adjust that from 11 a.m.? Can we bump that back to maybe 10, just to give it a little bit of extra hour, or 10:30?
Okay, so
Because
10 to
you go on lunch
12.
earlier.
Between 10 and 12, how's that?
Okay.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
And a vote?
Anne,
Yes.
Carolyn,
No.
Rich,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
I'll say yes.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you guys working with us, and you guys have a great evening, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you guys soon.
Thanks. Best of luck.
Thank you.
The next items on the agenda, Katrina, did you want to take them in any particular order?
Well, I'm just going to do a really quick kind of summary of all that we've been doing in the town to promote bicycle and pedestrian amenities. And so I think you're all familiar that back in 2014, we adopted the Complete Streets policy. So basically what that's saying is we're not promising anything. We're just saying that we're going to really make an effort when we're doing our capital planning to include pedestrian amenities when we're building, when we're thinking about improving the town. We should also be thinking about pedestrian amenities when we're changing our zoning, when we're changing our subdivision rules and regs, when we're changing our ZBA rules too. Next, we did complete a prioritization plan with the help of World Tech, which Rich may be familiar with. This was required to apply for Complete Streets funding. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I can.
And so we have the Complete Streets prioritization plan done as part of that grant program. We also put together a pedestrian and bicycle improvement plan. And why we put that together is because we needed a way to prioritize where we're going to build sidewalks first. We have these sidewalk funds that the ZBA has helped contribute to as part of their applications, and the planning board has through the years too. There's about 180,000 sitting in the sidewalk fund right now. Everyone wants sidewalks though. So how do you decide where to build those sidewalks? We needed some kind of method and rationale to do that. And that's what this improvement plan is. The prioritization program is the resulting map. When you apply this rationale, it comes out with the map. And I should start showing some of these so that you can see what I'm talking about. This is, Rich, does this look familiar?
Yes, it does.
And this is the improvement plan. And all it basically does is it tells you, how are we going to figure out who gets to have sidewalks built first? And this is all the criteria we use. And this is the spreadsheet. So this is the result of applying all that criteria to every roadway or every major roadway in Middleton, and they're broken up into sections, and I'll show you on the map. Whoa. A lot of this was done by hand too. You know, finding where all the sidewalks are. And so what you see on this map, I'm not going to be able to show it big enough, I'm afraid. I give up. What the colors signify is that there were points assigned according to how all that criteria was applied. And so where you see the highest points, we don't have any sidewalks that receive 90 to 100 or 80 to 89 or 70, 79. So the top priority is actually down where McDonald's and Mobile is. The sidewalk ends right here. You can see the dash line here. And this ended up being highest priority to build a sidewalk. So what we do with this information, you'll see that River Street is high. It's got green. South Main Street, the other side of South Main Street. But we have to take into account that this portion already has a sidewalk, at least on one side. But still, it was high priority to put a sidewalk on the second side. And then you get lower. This is going really slow. I think the lowest priority that made it onto the map is this stretch up near Liberty or North Liberty. And what we do with this information is, for instance, Paul Goodwin, our DPW superintendent, I've been talking to him about this because we also have a transportation traffic advisory group that gets together every 3 months. And I'm pushing this complete streets prioritization plan, trying to get people excited, trying to get people thinking about it from year to year. And it's difficult when you're DPW superintendent because you have limited funds to work with. However, I said, all we need to do is make this stretch of sidewalk right here a priority. And come May, we will be able to access the 180,000 that are in the sidewalk funds that we have already. So those funds can be used in addition to just your Chapter 90 funds each year, but it's hard to stretch those funds. And so that is our prioritization plan. I'm not asking the ZBA to act on this. I just wanted to make you aware of this and that we do have a plan in place to create more sidewalks. The next part is a sidewalk installation policy. And that word policy is important here. It isn't a bylaw. We're just starting off as a policy that both the planning board and the zoning board of appeals would officially adopt. You know, it could be included in your rules, but it's really something you're keeping in mind and you all agree that you're going to kind of abide by when you're reviewing your site plans and your special permits and your variances. And what this asks is that whenever there's a development in commercial or industrial, they have to provide a sidewalk out front. Even if it's in the middle of nowhere, they have to provide a sidewalk. We will have a plan for what type of sidewalk is built in different areas. If the sidewalk is already in good condition, they still have to contribute half the amount of a new sidewalk to the fund, because we're going to have to replace that sidewalk at some point in the future. If the sidewalk needs rehabilitation, they need to rehabilitate the sidewalk. The only time they would contribute to the fund is if they didn't have to provide a sidewalk at all. And I'm asking the ZBA to officially adopt this. The planning board already has adopted it. I will include it in their subdivision rules and regs, but theirs are a little harder to adopt. They have to hold a public hearing, and then they have to be recorded at the registry of deeds. So it's going to take me a while to go through their whole set of rules and regs to revise them. But the ZBA could simply adopt these and then include this policy in with their rules that they have adopted already. And that's it. I do have, there's this kind of, just to get the word out there, I was hoping to put that up on the town website somewhere. And this is a copy of our existing sidewalk account. And as you see, there's 181,000. I forgot to add here that we're going to expect 7,000 from the Lima Way subdivision. And then this is just the article. We're going to try and create a revolving fund so that those sidewalk funds can be accessed through the year to be used to build new sidewalks. Any questions?
Katrina, what's the easiest way to incorporate this into our rules and regulations? I mean, is it?
The ZBA doesn't have to hold a public hearing to change their rules. It would be nice to actually put it up on your agenda so that people who are interested can come. I'm just asking you to vote to adopt this policy. It doesn't have to be included in your rules. It could be a separate policy document on the side. I would like to just put it with the rules as maybe an attachment or something. And really, the best way to actually enforce this would be to have it adopted as a general bylaw, or maybe somewhere in the zoning bylaw. The town administrator and I talked about it, and it's like, why don't we just start with a policy? If the boards can be good about enforcing it, you have the power when you're approving special permits and variances to ask for things like this, because it's incorporated in your zoning bylaws right now that you're supposed to be looking out for pedestrian amenities and safety when you're approving projects already. This gives you a little more power to enforce it. For instance, the Runlet Way project that we just approved, they said, we don't want to put a sidewalk, and so with a policy like this, that you have to make them put in a sidewalk. It gives you a little more power and unity, I guess, as a board to make decisions like that.
Question.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Rich.
So Katrina, the town has an adopted complete streets policy, right?
Yes.
And so that was adopted and approved by the Board of Selectmen, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so in addition to just the planning board and the ZBA and any other regulatory group, whether it's the industrial review committee or whoever else it is, we should be doing that anyway, just because the town has adopted a complete street policy. And quite frankly, the town has received state money because they adopted that policy to do projects.
Yes.
And so the complete streets policy essentially says that you will make these accommodations when the town is doing a project. So let's say the town is doing repaving of a street or so forth, or a developer is doing a project, that we will implement the provisions of the complete street policy to the maximum extent practicable.
Mm-hmm.
So is this just more that we're making the boards, including our own, as well as the planning board and others, more aware that we should be taking a harder line to make sure that we're following the adopted town complete street policy? Am I making sense?
Okay. Yep. So if you ask me, if I was a board member, it would be a little difficult if someone started questioning you, such as an attorney for an applicant started saying, well, why are you asking us? How come you don't do this to anyone else? it's better to have a policy like this in your pocket so that you can say, look, we all adopted this as a group, and this is how it's going to work. And it also ensures that you're treating everyone the same. So you're not picking on one person more than another person. Every single person will be treated the same way.
Mhm.
And truthfully, we've had the complete streets policy since 2014, and it hasn't been real effective. It's, it's easy for me to say, well, we're a complete streets community. What does that really say? And I think what this policy does is it gives us tools to enforce the complete streets policy that we adopted.
I mean, and the only other comment I would make on that is Middleton is far behind other communities relative to implementing complete streets principles. I mean, I know that I work with a lot of communities, and we are far behind that. And the position with state, right up through the governor's office is healthy transportation, and that's to provide accommodation for not just pedestrians, but bicycles, transit, and vehicles. And so I support this. I mean, I think that we need to be looking at this and discussing this more when we have applicants before us that we're implementing these things. And they're always going to say no because they don't want to spend the money. But I think otherwise we're going to end up being a community that's really not accessible for anyone other than someone in a car.
It's a shame too, because we were one of the first communities to adopt a complete streets policy. And in 2014, we were voted one of the top 10 complete streets policies in the nation adopted.
So how could we apply that to our zoning rules and regulations in a clear and concise manner, so we're not just copy and pasting what the selectmen have done?
Okay,
and I think that's a great discussion topic to put on the agenda for next meeting.
Okay. So you want me to put this on the agenda to talk about what specifically?
Well, how we're going to incorporate the complete street policy into the zoning Board of Appeals rules and regulations.
Well,
with some specificity, so that any applicant that has to come before the ZBA can clearly and concisely see what the requirements are for any applicant that comes before us.
So it's all written right here. You can vote to adopt this. If you read through it, if you need more time to read through it, then we can wait. But if you read through it, it's all spelled out here exactly how you would.
But how many pages is it?
It's just 3. Is it 3 or 4? It's 3 pages.
I'd like a little more time to discuss how we're gonna incorporate it and not just cut and paste. But I'm just one person as well, so.
Yeah, I would like a chance just to read through it, at our leisure, and then maybe talk about it next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure, it's great, but I just want to take a look at it.
And I did read. I think it's good. I think it's something we need to incorporate, but I think for the very reasons that Rich has brought up and Katrina, you brought up, I think we need to have a little bit more, something that's more tailor fit to what our role is in the process.
I would agree with that too, Craig. I think, and I like your comment about this makes it easier. So when council comes in for some developer, they know that it's not going to be a surprise. It's not going to be a surprise. They should know ahead of time what we're going to be looking for.
And it could just be as simple as cutting and pasting, but I think I would just like to give the board a little bit of time to look that over again and see if there's a way to make it a little bit more clear, just because we have already started to be met with resistance on this kind of stuff. So if we can tighten it up before we adopt it, I think that would be helpful.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I was more interested in having a sidewalk installation policy that several boards would use. You don't want me to tailor fit it and put ZBA throughout this, do you? Or because I want the planning board and the ZBA to be able to use this same policy. and use it the same way.
Are we going to be using it in the same situations? With the same
The planning
criteria?
board really isn't going to have much of a chance to use it. Truthfully, they
So
don't
let the tailor
review
fit it to the zoning
commercial,
board then.
so it's just really multifamily for them, possibly.
Well, yeah, but what
Yeah,
about when they do, oh, sorry.
I think we should let's put it on the agenda for next meeting, and we'll have some time to discuss it and tailor fit it to the ZBA.
Okay, I can't do anything though before then? You don't want me to work on anything? Just put it on the agenda?
No, go for it. No, do.
Ooh, what do you want me to do?
Give nothing. Give the board time to review it. We'll discuss it next meeting.
Okay.
So it's just the sidewalk installation policy, Katrina, it's not the complete streets policy.
No, we've already adopted the complete streets policy. This is just page 14, 15, and 16, what I have up on the screen right now. Just these 3 pages.
Okay.
All right, so I'll put that on the agenda. Did you want to go to the next thing on the agenda?
Sure.
This isn't really an agenda item. I just thought the board would be interested in these plans because they approved the project at, what was it, 59 to 63 South Main Street on Rowell Lane now behind Angelica's. They also approved the architectural plans, et cetera. But they have changed. And this is allowed, they made sure to stay within the scope of what would need ZBA approval. But I did ask the developer, or I told them that I was going to let the ZBA look at these just because I thought you'd be interested. They're beautiful.
I think it looks.
I think.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I'm really impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved them.
They've even turned some garages. This was my idea, to the side.
Yep, I love it. So you're not driving up to this, just like, here's the garage.
Right. Only a couple they were able to do that on, but
really
I just
cool.
thought you'd be happy to see these.
Yeah, I made my day. It was fun to look at them. Thank you.
Yeah.
How many units?
That
How many units? Are in this?
45.
45, is that what you said?
Mhm. Yep.
They're really cool. They're really cool looking.
Yeah, I like that and the entrances are on the side on a lot of them.
I like the awnings. The shade awnings. It's just it's cool.
Yeah. Very
Is
nice.
this an over 55?
Yes.
Look, we have somewhere to move.
I was actually just talking to the someone in the office there. Before they can get their first building permit, they need to submit an age restriction policy to the ZBA for their approval, and I'll have town council approve it. They weren't ready for tonight's meeting, but she was just questioning the limitation on those 18 and under to, I think the condition was that they can't live there more than 6 months out of a year or something like that. She was questioning it, and I said, well, I think it was a pretty, the ZBA felt strongly about that. And she said, well, could it be changed? I said, you would have to have a public hearing and basically ask for the variance and the site plan to be changed, or the conditions of it to be changed to change it. So they're going to abide by it, though. I gave them the sample from Cranberry Commons to use.
Do you know the price point on these yet, Katrina?
Do I know the what?
On the price point on these regular units, how much they're asking?
No, but for some reason in my head, I'm thinking 700. But I think that's probably in the ballpark.
It's just that everything's gone up so much, but.
That's too bad, yeah.
Right, and keep in mind too, if we don't have that age restriction, we can ask for affordable units. So I think the board has to keep that in mind when they're approving other ones that, maybe we can have some that are 55 and over, that allow kids to live there too, if circumstances lead that way, just so that we can require some affordable units.
Yeah.
So the stick in the mud guy, I have to ask the question. So did they need a permit from Mass DOT to access 114?
They did. They don't show it to us, but I know that they did talk to Mass DOT about the turning lane and that they had conversations. We don't ask for proof though.
So that just sort of brings me to another general question. So we don't have any idea whether developers or just builders or private owners or anything are getting permits that they need from Mass DOT. They could just be going and doing it and under the darkness of night and hope it's okay. And I'll give you a couple of examples. Where Maggie's is, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had 2 driveway openings. They changed it to 1. I presume they got a permit from Mass DOT because whenever you change, you need a permit from MassDOT. My thing is they closed one of the driveways. There's a big drainage ditch there right now, and they just left the driveway. So there's no granite curb to prevent someone from, driving up onto the sidewalk and into the drainage ditch. Similarly, down the street, I think it's going to be a law office. It's right on the corner of a street. I can't remember the name of the street. They've had an excavator out front of it for weeks, and they just cut in a new driveway as well, about 30 feet from where the side street is. So this gets back to my whole thing. Like, we keep getting these driveway openings. And granted, that roadway is under the jurisdiction of Mass DOT, but it's in Middleton. We live with it. And so I know in Beverly, on the Parking and Traffic Commission, we have a lot of state highway there. I always ask the question, did you file for a permit with Mass DOT? And we ask to see it to make sure they're doing it. I don't think that's a stretch for us to have to ask those kinds of things, because at the end of the day, Mass DOT is not out here checking every driveway. At the end of the day, we have to live with whatever the issue is. So again, when I was walking by, I go for a walk sometimes up 114, and I'm going by where Maggie's is, and I'm like, they closed the driveway, but they never turned it into a sidewalk. It's a driveway with no curb, and someone could just drive right over it. So I don't know. Maybe we don't care. I do, but I don't know. Just
I think it just happens to be that you have an interest in that, and so I think you should start asking, and maybe it'll become the norm with the board.
Well, I have a close relationship with Paul Stedman. He's the District 4 Highway Director, and I have a call into him, and I'm going to ask the questions. And
yeah, I mean, you could be the one on the board that always asks that question of the applicant, and everyone will get used to it. And start expecting it. We don't have it on our application. I don't think we can really put it on our application. But we can always ask it during the meeting.
Yeah, I just think it makes us a little bit more comprehensive when we're ruling on something.
Right. Well, maybe one of these meetings you could explain why it's a good thing to make sure that people have their Mass DOT permits.
There are certainly opportunities to put things on the agenda if people have items that they feel strongly about that they would like to speak on.
I'll get some information. I'll be talking to the District Highway Director, and then maybe we'll put something on the agenda and I can kind of give you guys a download. How's that?
That'd be great.
It's a plan. I'm sorry, I did try and turn my video back on. I don't know what went wrong, but I can't turn it on anymore.
That happened to me in a meeting once too. I touched a button and I disappeared.
Yeah, I'm blocked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna touch a button.
Up
It's
here.
called motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.